we're going to hop into our apps area. And so our apps area, we're on the Nextmove Farm Share team, and this is accessible for our entire Nextmove development crew to build and test different algorithms. And so the first app we're going to hop into is the Farm Share Delivery app. You can think about an app as a container. That container has a bunch of different versions of the application and allows us to look at things like experiments and the API itself. And I'm just going to jump right in and start with a live experiment. So the way I'm going to do this from the UI is to create a new experiment. And remember, I'm looking at adding cold chain to my fleet of vehicles. And in order to do this, I have an input set that I'm going to use, which is going to be Lancaster, PA. And then I also have two different instances that I want to test. And I'll explain this a little bit more in a second. But the first instance I'll use is my production instance. That is my live algorithm that is working in production today. And the one I'm going to test is staging. And that reminder is basically removing the requirement for me to have certain vehicles go with certain stops to support that dairy delivery. And the way you can think about this is we talk a lot about compatibility attributes at Nextmove. So certain vehicles maybe have certain capabilities, and those capabilities can serve certain stops. And so for this one, we used to have only half of our fleet have the capability for refrigeration. And now we want the whole fleet to have refrigeration capability. So that means any order can go with any vehicle. And so we'll create and run this experiment. And I'll kick that off now. While that is running, so we can see it started here, I'll walk through some of the pieces of every application on the Nextmove ecosystem. So first things first, we have the details around our app. And so we have things that are pretty standard, like an ID and a description. So we can give everybody on the team a context about what that algorithm is trying to support. In this case, routing and assignment for that delivery service. You can also see who last published to that application. So in this case, one of our engineers, Sebas, was the last one to push. And then you can see different versions for your application. And so you can name these however you like. You can also create new versions from the UI for the last push model. And then you also have the ability to manage instances, which are really nice. And I know I referenced them when I started the experiment. But these are used to give you different endpoints for your algorithm. And so you may have a staging endpoint, a production endpoint. You could also have an instance that is a particular region like NYC. And that allows you to switch over which version you're running for that particular instance. But it also gives you an ability to kind of track data and run history. And so you can see here in the run history, we've partitioned by both the instance ID and the version ID. And that's really helpful kind of when we go look at particular runs and understand, hey, if they succeeded, and dive into what the output performance looked like. And so you can see what was running at that given time, and maybe do some deep dive, triage if something went wrong. So that's a little bit of an overview of the application. And then we are looking a lot at these batch experiments today and input sets. And these input sets are ways that we can capture different collections of data files that we want to test against. And so we can agree as a team that we always want to test against high, medium, and low volume times. We could even, add new input files that are, not from history, but, from what does it look like with 10x volume, or what does it look like with a larger fleet, something like that. And then finally, we just have the API reference, and this gives an overview of the endpoints that are used to access this application. And you can kind of think about the way Nextmove works is you're creating your own custom SaaS solution. So you push up to the Nextmove cloud, and now this app is available for you to run. And like I said, across a lot of different instances and endpoints. So let's check back in on that batch experiment. So we were adding that cold chain to the fleet. Looks like this is still running for us here. Oh, and it just completed. And so when it completes, we get some summaries of the output statistics. And the way to think about this is the value is what we're optimizing for. And so in this case, we're optimizing for time on road, plus a like unassignment penalty. And we want to check to see if our staging algorithm is actually reducing that time on road, because we pay our drivers for the amount of time they spend servicing those deliveries. And so what you can see here is from production to staging, we actually reduced that average time on road across all the files that we ran. And we ran 14 different input files to get this result. And this is great. So this should generate a conversation with our executive team about, if we were to invest in making refrigeration available on our entire fleet, we would actually see a day over day benefit of, reduced time on road because we could service all of the deliveries with any vehicle that's in our fleet. The other nice thing about this is you can actually look at custom metrics. And so those custom metrics may be something like vehicle count. And you can see from production to staging, the vehicle count was roughly the same that we were utilizing. And so you can understand, what your performance is and what your trade-offs are across multiple metrics. Because very frequently in the optimization space, there's no free lunch. So you're usually pulling from one metric and kind of pulling slack from other parts of your system.